Let's take a look at the next set of problems in A. So on A we have 24 plus 12 square roots of 5 all over 12. And the idea here is we want to be able to reduce or write this in lowest terms. So the way that I look at this is we're going to look at all the regular numbers, and notice we're going to keep anything that's in a root as kind of like, remember the root acts like a barrier. I'm not going to be able to get to anything that's inside of a root. But each and every piece has to be able to be divided out by some common factor if you want to reduce. So if I wanted to reduce this first fraction, I need to be able to reduce all of the constants by the same factor. Well, what are 24, 12, and 12 all divisible by? They're all divisible by 12. So I'm going to divide every piece by a 12 on top and every piece on the bottom by a 12. Let's see what that does. Well, on the 24 first, 12 will go into 24 2 times, plus this next part we have 12 will go into 12 once. Remember, I am not going to go past the barrier because there's a square root there that's going to act as a barrier. Divided by, on the bottom, 12 goes into 12 one time. Now, here we go. This is a fine answer, but there's some things that we wrote that don't have to be written. So we've got 2 plus, we don't need to write the 1 in front of the square root of 5, just like when we have x, we never write it as 1x, we just write it as an x. So I can just rewrite that as a square root of 5. And also, if I have a 1 on the denominator, remember I don't have to write that. So this is just 2 square roots of 5. Let's take a look at B. On B, we have negative 5 plus 5 square roots of 2 all over 5. So let's look at each of these 3 pieces, and let's look at the coefficients here, which are the constants and coefficients. Is we've got negative 5, 5, and 5. What are all 3 of these divisible by? They're all divisible by 5. So we can divide all of these out by a 5. Let's see how that does for us. Well, 5 will go into negative 5 as negative 1, plus, then we'll also have 5 will go into 5 once as, let's see, the square root of 2, divided by, on the bottom we also have 5 goes into 5 once. Now again, a bunch of these, just like the last one, a bunch of these ones do not have to be written. We have negative 1 plus, we don't need to write the 1 in front of the square root of 2, and we don't need to write the 1 on the denominator, so this is negative 1 plus the square root of 2, and that is reduced. And again, notice we did not cross the barrier of the square root. We can't do that. Whatever's inside of the square root is safe inside of the square root. Let's take a look at our last problem, C. In C, we've got 12 minus 9 square roots of 72 all over 18. So before we do anything, let's see if there's anything we can reduce. Well, we've got a 12, a 9, and an 18. 12, 9, and 18 are all divisible by 3. So let's divide all of those through by a 3 and see if that helps us out some. So 3 will go into 12 4 times, minus 3 will go into the 9 3 times. Remember, we will not cross the boundary of the square root, so it'll stay as square root of 72. All over, 3 will go into 18 6 times. Now, you've got the right idea and you're very close at this point. The problem is you are not done with the 72. The 72 is a square root that can actually be broken down. Remember that 72 is 36 times 2, so we can rewrite that. So let's do that. We can rewrite as 4 minus 3, and then the square root of 72 we just said was 36 times 2. Let's leave everything else alone for now, over 6. So the square root of 36 is gonna come out as, well, the square root of 36 is 6. and it will get multiplied by the 3 that's already there to turn into an 18. So that 6 that comes out will get multiplied by the 3 to turn into an 18. We are still stuck with this 2 because you cannot take the square root of 2. It will stay inside, all over 6. Now you're almost done because what happens now is I still have a bunch of terms that are now again divisible by something again. We've got a 4, an 18, and a 6. Again, remember the 2's safe inside of its square root. We can't cross that barrier. But 4, 18, and 6 are all divisible by 2. So let's see what happens. We can divide all those through by 2, and that will get us, well, 2 goes into 4 2 times, minus 2 goes into 18 9 times. Remember, what's inside of the square root is safe, so that's going to stay as the square root of 2. All over, 2 goes into 6 3 times. Now, how we know we are done is notice the numbers that are left over that are outside of the square root, the 2, the 9, and the 3. They do not have anything in common. So if we wanted to divide something out, it has to be something that all 3 of those terms can be divided by. There's nothing else we can divide all 3 of those by. That's how we know we are done. So this is our final answer. 2 minus 9 square roots of 2 all over 3.